Hello and welcome to Patchwork. Today we have something very special, a game created by two wonderful friends of the channel, this being the game Huntered. That's Hunt and then ERED because there's a hunter and hunted. This is by the wonderful Super Dylan and Megan Cross, both of which you may recognize from both previous episodes of the Game Woven show and, of course, their own incredible projects. By a quick intro, Huntered is a two-player game that toggles between a fast-paced race and narrative vignettes that explore crucial moments of the hunt and examine the humanity and monstrosity within each of you. So, today I am Rob. I'll be one half of this hunter and hunted pair, and with me is, of course,
Hey, it's Zad. Hi. Welcome to this patch. How's it going?
so happy to have you all. So happy to be doing another one-on-one with you, Zad. We've only really done one little vignette together one-on-one, so I'm excited to get into it. So, like a lot of things in the Game Woven Patchwork cinematic universe, we've come in with zero plan. We don't know who is hunter, who is hunted, and what the hunt is. So, we're going to just let the rule book carry us forward. So this game is beautifully simple. So we have everything we need. We have 2 dice each, 2d6. There's going to be kind of a little thing we'll use to keep the kind of initiative or who's winning the hunt in our background, but we'll keep you informed of where it's at. Basically, think of it as if one side wins 3 in a row, then they've won the hunt, but it'll keep going like a tug of war back and forth. So to start, we need to decide who is the hunter and who is the hunted. Once we choose, then there will be some prompt questions that we can answer that will also help us figure out the kind of stage setting questions.
Do we want to maybe run the stage setting first to
Yes,
figure
so
out where we're at, and then we can pick our roles from there?
100%. So, the first question, pretty simple. Where does this hunt take place? So we have a lot of great options. Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
Start us right
yeah.
off. Make a big choice. So we have a lot of, I feel like, great places already set up in the world. We can also always go somewhere new. I mean, my immediate thought is always when thinking about big hunts is going to be in the outskirts of Vernet because we established there's a lot of monsters. There's a big history of like monster hunting and like there's also been a lot of, let's call it what it is, war crimes around that area. So there feels like that's a rich vein to tap into for sure.
Yeah. And I think interesting thing about doing it internet is to just like have a guy, not necessarily have it be tied into anything. And then like at that point we would just be fighting a regular old beastie. Not to say that we couldn't put additional stuff on top of that, but like
Totally.
suicide bomber T-Rexes was a thing that was
I
said from the
mean,
Kingdom game.
yeah, I
So
may
it
have
could be
established a
anything.
tactic of people exploding the jungle to scare T-Rexes into the city. That may or may not have been a tactic I said
What
was
a good
implemented.
time that was. But this is
Sure was.
probably before that in the timeline. Um,
Incredible. Yeah.
my if we're going to if her net's out like outskirts of her net, the Ernitine jungles is what we want to kind of place it as. I think my preference would be to put it even before the for the Queen game.
Mhm. Gotcha.
So
So this
like
is like this is like our intro to the
Yeah.
Brunetti kind of
Mhm.
setting before
So
we've ever seen it before. Great.
Blythe, presumably queen,
Mhm.
Karen and parents still at court, Constantining.
I mean,
I
at
mean,
this
do we
point,
want to
maybe
go?
even Blythe's parents
Yeah,
in power at this point, even
just roll
actually.
it way back. That's actually, yeah. Let's do that.
Great.
This would be like early days of early forays from the Undying Empire potentially in the area.
Sure.
I don't know if that's going to come up. It might be a useful thing that there's weirdos sniffing around.
Hear that? Okay, awesome. I
Okay.
like that. And you know what? You have already preempted the second question, which is what time period, real or imagined, does the hunt take place? So will now the next question is, will you open the game at the beginning of the hunt? Will you pick up in the midst of an ongoing hunt? Which is an interesting question because it kind of gets into like the impetus of the hunt, right? Is this
Hmm.
like people going out to get something, or is this like in reaction to something like getting too close to the city? The thing I am looking forward to is that we establish our net as like a big monster hunting, like, kind
Hmm.
of uh let's just call it what is badass, like people living in a city in a bad situation, but we didn't
Yeah,
really
Monster Hunter
establish
Fruit
like.
Gang.
Yes, but we never like got like the vibes and the motivation and the how of it all. So,
Hmm.
you know, this is kind of what we'll be establishing. So, what feels, I guess it to me, I guess it feels, if we're in terms of that, maybe starting at the beginning of the hunt to get kind
Hmm.
of like the pre ramp up for the hunter underway. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think if in terms of impetus,
Hmm.
what I think is maybe a cool idea is this is a creature that had been like people know about the creature and they know that
Hmm.
it's dangerous, but it's always been far enough out of the way. It's always been off in its own area that wasn't necessary
Hmm.
for the farming operations. It wasn't unsafe, and so it's just like it's not really worth the risk to go take it out. But the thing that's changed is, maybe suddenly it's been spotted outside of its normal hunting ground, or it's
Hmm.
it
Some combination of like the
yeah,
orchard outside the city has expanded and this thing has
yeah.
like moved its hunting grounds for whatever reason. Yeah, I like
Hmm.
that.
And now we got to go take it out, but it's like a known, not like a known quantity, but it's just like, oh, we haven't had to deal with one of these in a while, and
Hmm.
uh
Totally.
so
I love it. I love that. I think that's a great. So we'll start it at the start of the hunt there.
mhm.
What are the emotional states at the start of the hunt? So um, it sounds like this is not like a super desperate hunt at this time, right?
Mhm.
Like the monster isn't like in the city, like, ravaging the orchards. This is like a preemptive kind of hunt,
Yeah.
sounds like.
I I think what it feels like to me is to have maybe you've got this like young gun up and comer
Mm.
monster hunter, and this is something that they'd be able to gain an amount of clout for going to solo.
Mhm.
But like if it was a real problem, they would have sent a crew. Like the
Totally.
fact that this is a solo hunt is almost an ego trip for this you know
Yeah,
young
yeah.
adult, somebody who's mid 20s pushing 30 kind of zone, um or maybe even younger than that.
Or
Excuse
like
me.
they probably have just gotten their piece of
Hmm.
Leviathan bone.
Yeah.
Love
All
that.
right.
This
Okay.
is like a trying to get yourself
Hmm.
on the map. Um,
Yeah. And I think the well for the state for the monster,
mhm.
like the emotional state for the monster, I think the monster seems confused, out of its element, almost like it's cornered, or just
Yeah,
like um especially if it's something that's been observed in its native hunting grounds and now it's expanding out. um I wouldn't say that the monster's state of mind is particularly calm at the moment.
love it. All right. And then their last set collaborative stage setting question is what about you both is not what it seems? Do we want to answer that after we answer hunter and monster questions and leave that
I
the
think that that
last
is a
segment?
great idea.
So for now we have to pick hunter and monster. Who wants to be what here?
Do you have a preference?
I do not. I'm down to like if you have a preference or you want to just leave it up to a roll of the
Oh,
dice.
I've got cards here,
Mhm.
and sorry, I'm using tarot cards instead of playing cards, and so I've got the
Oh,
major arcana, and you've gotten number 13, death, and for myself, I drew number 20, the world, and I maybe should have assigned which one was high card, which one was low before
well,
I.
the death versus the world. The world feels more like a monster
Okay.
natural thing, and the death feels more person.
Hey, you know what? Fair.
Oh,
So sorry, judgment, judgment, not the world, judgment.
oh, fair enough. I mean, but
Interesting.
also,
Do you want to take Hunter then?
sure.
Are you good taking Hunter? Is maybe the better
Yes.
question
No,
as well.
we let's get into it. So let's answer some monster questions. So you are a monster. That's not a question. That's a statement in the text. Who
Mhm.
or what are you? And what do you look like?
There's a part of me that's tempted to go some sort of like big primate,
Okay.
just to get a lot of mobility cooked in as opposed to a big monster fight.
Sure.
But I don't know.
Hey, my brain when like just need monster, my brain will always go towards like a Hydra-esque kind of
Yeah.
creature as well. But that's just my brain because I
Hmm.
like hydras.
I mean, hydras are cool.
Yeah.
But
No,
see,
but I
we've
do
got
like
big hermit crabs.
true.
We've done scorpions. We've done so that we've got plenty of arthropods down in the zone here.
Mhm, mhm.
Uh,
Something that can break
let me
open
Google
shells
something.
would be good, right?
Something that hunts the giant hermit crabs.
Sure. Right. I mean, uh, yeah, that would shift us from like the jungle area more towards the coast.
More towards
But that's not
the
necessarily
coast.
like
True.
it could be something that is on like the coastal edge of the jungle, right? Something that kind of will
Yeah.
get food from those giant crabs on the beach and then go into the
Hmm.
jungle to for safety.
There's this like kind of estuary between like what we think of as raptors and what we think of as birds,
Mhm.
and with a particular um, thought to how flight would have developed. There's a thought that it's just like, oh yeah, these things that like climbed trees and stuff like that. They just like they develop the feathers and the ability to glide in order to like dive after prey. And so
Yeah.
it's like a it's like post raptor, pre bird. Um,
Mm.
I think it's not as much tail and very much oriented towards uh, like what if a dinosaur was a flying squirrel is almost what I've got
Yes,
in mind,
totally.
or a sugar glider, or like a stabilization tail as opposed to no tail, but like
I like
when
even the
moving on the
idea
ground.
I like even the idea of like the tail has some kind of like large chitinous like blunt instrument
Ooh,
that it uses to like that's the weight
yeah,
that propels it down, right? Like it has like
yeah.
the wings to glide, but then it
Hmm.
uses like the jumping and the large like kind of like
Hmm.
blunt instrument to like crack open or break a skull, right? Like a one hit kill kind
Yeah.
of
Hmm.
attacker.
Or like it has the tail is partially prehensile so that it like can
Mm,
move almost a little better, but it
yeah.
will like curl into something that operates like a fist. Fun
Yes.
fact about Captain Falcon's Falcon Punch: um, peregrine falcons don't like use their claws or their beaks in order to get flying prey. They dive at shit and they're moving so fast that they just ball their talons up into fists, and they hit them with this really incredible force, and that stuns them, stuns
That's
whatever's in
amazing.
the air. And they're fast enough that they can essentially loop back around and scoop it up while it's
Before
scoop
it
their prey
falls
up
into
and
the
finish it
water.
off. or into the ground. So that's
Oh yeah.
maybe a little bit of what's going on here.
Yeah.
Yeah, like something that's a little bit lankier and a little bit like articulated fingers, climbs
Yeah.
trees and rocks. And
So this doesn't sound like a huge monster. It's maybe like I'm imagining like a raptor from Jurassic Park, like maybe like a cow in length kind of
some,
vibe.
yeah, between human and cow sized.
Gotcha. So this isn't like dangerous because it'll break down all the walls. It's dangerous because it'll get over the walls and into everything and just be a whole
It'll
big
start killing
problem.
your livestock, and it's like an ambush predator.
Awesome. That's so cool. I love this. Okay. Next question. You have made this place your home. What brought you to this place? Why did you choose to stay?
Well, I was chased out of my previous environment. There's new management. The kingdom further inland is recently come under new management, and a lot of the wilds are being cleared out, and dangerous predators are being hunted down to extinction. And so, had to get out of there. Had to go push down a little bit further towards the coast. Would love to be moving more in between trees, but I guess these, like, this'll do for now.
Mhm, mhm. Totally. Like this is a supposed to be a creature that lives like in the deep, deep jungle
Hmm.
where there you can't see sky. Like
Yeah.
the canopy is
Hmm.
that thick, but we're starting to get more towards
More
the
coastal.
outskirts of the city
Yeah.
and understood. Ha- Um, you've heard stories told about you. What do people say about you? How much of these stories are true?
I think the stories are like, this is a demon. Um,
Mm,
this is like what's almost being described here is like this creature is a cryptid almost when you get away
mm,
from the deeper jungles where people are used to seeing them. Um, like one of them got killed and stuffed, and like a traveling circus brought it around down like through the Stormtooth
totally.
and the Shamir. And so like um I think people say that this is a you know some
Like
group of people that
mythological?
so what
Is it like mythological or
I,
like thought fate,
there's
like a
there's
full
myths of,
cryptid
yeah,
or
there's like myths about it. Like there's people saying like, ah, yeah, this is the precursors to uh the time when we civilized people settled this place. This is just what people used to be, and look at how far they've fallen. And that's not true. Like
Mm,
this is just a bird or a dinosaur monkey hybrid kind of
yeah.
thing. People say that their skin changes color to blend
Mm,
in with the forest. The easiest way to tell one's passing is because is the absence of sound. They're just simply that quiet. It's the poison from its fangs who will burn away your soul. So it's a good thing that the claws usually kill you first. There's a fair amount of fear built up around these things. Um,
yeah.
and like the tail meat is a component to an elixir for life. All sorts of other things. Like there's a whole strata of alchemical nonsense about the parts of this particular creature.
I mean, I'm sure the poison would be like even if it doesn't actually do that, right? Like
Oh, they're not poisonous. They just like the bacteria that lives on their teeth will get to you pretty bad if they bite you without,
understood.
like, that's a dietary thing.
Yeah.
Just
So the second part of the question is how much of this is true? So like does it have like chameleonic skin? It
um
doesn't have poisonous poison, but like how much of this is all true? Like
a lot of it's
and also
exaggerated.
I'm curious, like, do we want to establish any kind of like supernatural or magical like quirk to this thing? Like, is it maybe like supernaturally quiet, or does it have some kind of like
I'm ready to leave whether or not these things are magical as an open space and keep them
love it?
mostly within the just like mostly within the realm of the plausible, I'll say.
Oh,
I don't think that they don't have like an active camouflage. Like their skin doesn't change color like an octopus does, but their like feathers do respond pretty well within a season or two to the colors, like the predominant colors within the environment. So they change color quickly on the scale of a year or two, but not necessarily
mhm,
like immediately change color. And everything else, like most of the other things are, they're just well suited for the things that they do.
yeah. There I mean, and that's the other thing is, like, the nature of this creature is
Mhm.
you truly either live in encounter with it or you don't. Like, these things don't leave survivors.
Yeah,
Like, you don't have, like, the people who have, like, "Ah, I lost my leg to this thing." Like, it either lands on you and kills you in one hit or you get away
yeah.
unscathed.
Well, I
So,
think that's
it's
like,
a, like, a very all or nothing
mhm.
kind of thing, I feels like.
Well, and just because of their like bacterial culture, they have
Mm,
wounds that they inflict have a tendency to get infected really easily. That's also like there's a lot of bugs in tropical zone, and it's just
mhm,
like
mm,
um, I think like one of the really funny things is these guys are omnivores,
love
and
it.
so like they don't even predominantly hunt. They do hunt some, but like they've got a pretty robust and diverse diet that they'll go for, which is part of why they haven't like been a nuisance until more recently.
Mhm. Gotcha. So like it kind of gives me the vibe of like feral cats where it's like
Hmm.
when they see a good opportunity for meat, they're gonna take
Yeah,
it, but they also eat all kinds of shit
absolutely.
to help with digestion and just to
Hmm.
keep fed. Awesome. I love it. I think that oh, and the last one is you have been hunted before. How did you survive and why are you hunted? We have established a couple reasons why you've been hunted,
Hmm.
but
Um, hunted before because they were attempting to do um, agriculture in the place that I was living, and they wanted me out of there. How did you survive? I think I actually wrapped up a fair number of kills
Mhm.
before um things really uh like I lasted a while in my old hunting grounds, and I ended up having to run, and I did run because a uh I ended up facing this new hunter came in and just like tried to track me down solo, and I was looking for an opportunity to strike. And when uh, it was scanning for me up in the brush, our eyes met for a second, and its eyes were such a strange metallic color that I had never seen before, or like seemed so unnatural, um, that I just like, you get that sense of like,
Mhm.
that is not something to fight. And that's when I decided to leave. Like this is this ain't where I want to be
Mhm.
anymore. If that's what they're sending after
Yeah,
me.
like, up until that point, you're like, "Oh, I'm still, like, the top predator
Hmm.
amongst these things." Like, maybe I mean, in the deep jungles, there almost certainly are things that can hunt and kill you, but, like, it wasn't until that
Hmm.
solitary thing
Yeah,
showed up that you
that's when I
and,
knew it was a bad time.
that's when you knew to cut your losses. Incredible. I'm also curious, so then has it been long enough that your feathers have acclimated to like maybe the different foliage colors, or is this like are we cutting in on on this creature story like you've still got like I imagine the deeper jungle has like a lot more like wild colors amongst it, so you're kind of like a little more standing out in the like more normal quote unquote trees
Yeah, I think
here.
I'm like halfway to being able to blend in more effectively with this area here. that's part of why it's important for the hunter to get this hunt done soon, because like
Mhm.
I'm only getting more difficult to find, but I'm not 100% changed over yet. So, but we'll go with that.
Incredible. All right. So,
I should probably get a name, huh?
next up, I I was gonna say while we go through hunter questions, we're not gonna keep the tradition up. We do have to name what this creature is called, and if you want to have like a like specific name, like Moby Dick or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, like of this specific one of these creatures that you think the locals have called you, then that's also super available. So, um, oh, thank you, you two. You are a mighty hunter. That's so nice of you to say. Thank you, game designers. Um, who am I, and what do I look like? So, obviously, we've established I'm like a fresh hunter. I've just done my trial at Leviathan, which, as a reminder for anyone who it has been a minute, there is a giant like deep sea creature with that's like fossilized on the sea floor outside of the city of Vernet, and a like final trial for people who are gonna hunt monsters and protect Ernet is you have to dive down without magical spells and stuff, just your own body, and dive as deep as you can and break off a piece of that leviathan to be kind of your main symbolic blade. And the deeper you can get, the better and sharper and harder the fossilized bone is. So I like to imagine that we're pretty, I'm going to say probably like mid late 20s, right? Like we're pretty fresh from the training of Leviathan. I feel like you don't go straight into training to hunt monsters. You have to start like being city watch or like studying. Like it's not like you're done with whatever kind of high school equivalent and then you go straight into monster hunting. You gotta build
Mm-hmm.
up to that. So we're like kind of, you know, that kind of age. I imagine I'm gonna say that this individual has not gotten like prime Leviathan bone, like the like let's say probably like the because like the prime would be like a tooth, part of a tooth. I feel like that's one of the like deepest parts. Imagine the Leviathan is like kind of face first almost and like rising up. So like the easiest thing to get would be like maybe a piece of like spine. So I've gotten like some like maybe some like top of neck like nape bone, which is like passable, right? Like nobody's gonna be like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, well, you barely passed the trial, but it's not impressive, right? It
Yeah.
is like,
So
okay, yeah, like in that way of like, oh, you didn't get a C, you got a C, you passed, but nobody's impressed by that. If you want to actually be impressed, you have to get an A, right?
mm-hmm.
Um, so
So like something on the
and
face or in the jaw, that's your A territory.
yeah, exactly. And so I've got like the neck, the nape
Mm-hmm.
um kind of not really opening a lot of doors with that. Trying to think of a quick name. I'm gonna go. I'm thinking Vilius.
Vilius.
Vilius. Um,
What pronouns
what do
using?
I look like? So, he they.
Either.
And I imagine Vilius is. I like the mismatch. So I'm gonna say that Vilius is also not the like lithe, nimble hunter, but is a lot more like stocky and solid. Um, like a lot of hunters probably make their Leviathan bone into like a spear or a knife. And what I have done is I have it's not like a huge, heavy, like Monster Hunter maul, but like
Mm-hmm.
have like a maul that has I don't know medieval weaponry, but there are those like hammers that end in a point on the other end, and my Leviathan bone is the point on the other end,
Ooh.
right?
So hammer one
Um,
end, bone other, like bone
Leviathan,
spike on the other side.
uh,
Tight.
exactly. Um, so you know, not like plate mail armored, but probably like some kind of chain mail, like some leaving still some mobility
Right.
options available, but on the heavier armored side. Um, but I think has made a point, doesn't wear like a helmet, which is like a very like classic like I am I'm a young monster hunter here to prove myself. Like I don't even wear a helmet because I don't need to. Like old veteran monster hunters always wear a helmet. They have no reason not to, but it's kind of like I feel like it's definitely like this is not a weird thing that
Hmm.
I'm not wearing a helmet is like a thing that happens. It's not supposed to. You are definitely advised to wear helmets, and I would not if I died because I didn't wear one. It certainly would. I would not be the first, aspiring monster hunter
Not the first
to
person
die
to make
because of
that
it.
mistake.
Yep. Um, So there's a reason you've come to hunt here. What is driving you to pursue your quarry? Were you hired or charged by someone else? Yeah, it's purely ego. I feel like mostly like purely I think I am better than the than where I currently am, and I know that I feel that
Hmm.
deep in my soul. If I don't do something to like establish myself, I will never get a chance to like excel, be put where I need to
Yeah, I
be.
mean, you only got down to the nape of the neck. Like,
Yeah.
you got to do something
Like,
cool. Like, I think people
yes.
people will understand. Like, they'll still keep ribbing you, if you'll pardon the pun, to about like what kind of bone you got. But there's that understanding. It was just
Absolutely.
like, hey, they got the bone. Let's see what they do next. You don't have to give them a job right away. We don't have to put them onto the cruise. But
Mhm.
that's it got done.
Like right now I'm on like patrolling crews,
Hmm.
right? Like the prestigious places are like you're going on a like dedicated hunt
Hmm.
to get something or to like clear out an area. But you know, everyone else, the nape and above people,
Hmm.
they just go on patrols around the
Yeah.
city and look for signs or jump at something if it comes
Yeah.
up, right?
When I think like
Which
that's
is important.
mhm,
It's necessary, but it's not flashy and it's not prestigious, right?
right. And that almost feeds into like you being outside of the main, like you winding up out in the sticks might even have been about like
Mm,
how you heard about this. Like you're doing this
yes.
on your day
Okay.
off.
It's like the classic like detective movie trope where they get like sidelined to some like insulting position
Hmm.
and that like gives them the like but wait, in this place nobody looked or cared about, there's this clue that's leading me down this entire trail.
Yep.
So it's like I only because I got put out on like the
Yeah.
orchards, like not even around the city, like around like the
Hmm.
orchards, which
You
is
can't even
like it
smell the
smells
city
like
from
absolute
here.
shit. Yeah, well, the orchards are where the stinky place,
Is it the
even
orchard?
because it's
Well, I thought
yeah.
okay.
I believe the orchards are
I
the
mean,
part that, and then it wafts.
we've never been really particular about it. I was always picturing that there was like a major, like this is where all of the fertilizer goes, or this is where all of the
Mm,
waste goes to get turned and processed into
true.
fertilizer. Um, I mean, it could be. It's
Probably a bit of both.
yeah,
Like I'm right around the smell like ass
yeah,
area. Uh,
right.
but there is where like I find like a feather
Hmm.
and like a local pack animal with its like a carcass that its like head is just like smashed
Hmm.
against the ground and like fucking gone,
You start hearing
and
like
that's when like
you
some
talk to this farmer who's just like, yeah, no, a person flew into my yard and ate one of my chickens. And somebody's like, ma'am,
yes,
that's a bandit. Go to bed. She's like, no, it was a
yes,
nine
yeah.
foot tall guy who could fly, had wings
Yeah.
and shit. I don't know what else to
And
tell
everyone's
you.
like, oh, that's that old coot. You don't listen to them.
Yep.
They're just trying to get attention. They don't know what the fuck they're talking about.
Meanwhile, Villas is like, hey, I've heard of this thing.
Yes. Like, very, like, by the book, like, "No, no, wait, I read about this creature, it's yeah, people there's so many myths about this." So, yeah, definitely not this is not a sanctioned hunt.
Hmm.
I think it's very much like, ask for forgiveness, not permission, like, like, if anything other than me killing this creature happens, then I'm either dead or in trouble,
Yeah.
right? Like, it's very much like it the more we talk about, the more it seems like the Uneti Monster Hunter kind of like society or guild or whatever kind of structure is very laissez-faire in terms of like, yeah, we have baseline rules, and if you can make it work and break the rules,
Hmm.
then we won't slap the book at you, but otherwise
Yeah.
you're probably dead. So it doesn't matter.
That's kind of the vibe that I've gotten off of Blythe. Like she gets to do the things that
Mhm.
she does because she can. Just,
Yeah.
So like if you can bring a monster head in and throw it down on the table and say, "Hey, I want a better job," they'll probably give you a better job.
Yeah, exactly.
Uh,
Um You carry a signature weapon. What is it? What about it is more than it seems? Well, I did establish it's that maul with the Leviathan bone. But what about it is more than it seems? Um, okay. I think the one piece of like mobility we'll say is that I don't want to. I'm trying to think what's cooler. I think the haft is like rigid enough and I've like trained enough with it that I can like use it to like almost like pole vault around, you know?
that's really cool. So
Yeah,
it's a
so
like
like
it's a long handled hammer.
exactly.
Gotcha.
So this is like I probably have like a couple like daggers or short swords and
Hmm.
stuff in case things get up close, but like my main tactic is going to always be like sweeping swings to create distance, and then using the half to like jump in or out of engagement range, kind of
Nice.
keeping at my perfect distance. Um, then you have heard stories of the monster you hunt. What do you know about your quarry? Do you believe everything you've heard about it? So I feel like in the kind of like the textbook, right? The monster is like it's thought of as like near like kind of like how we can observe like monkeys using rocks and like otters like breaking open stuff with rocks and all that. Like this thing is a little too smart to be just like an animal, right? It's like really cunning and clever, and so it's and then that combined with all of the like other stories about it, it's just like seen as a very risky thing
Hmm.
to go after. And I think that probably because nobody's like observed it, like we don't know it's an omnivore, right? So it's probably seen as like a really like kind of vicious hunter, right? Like this like
Yeah.
our only interactions with it are it like just absolutely decimating prey.
Hmm.
So we probably like people probably see this thing as like, okay, so this is a really clever, really vicious carnivore that will and like absolutely no like it's kind of like a rattlesnake will shake its tail to tell you to go away. This thing just fucking kills
Hmm.
you. It's not interested in de-escalating. If you get in its way, it will just kill you.
Well, and moreover, like it will go in and it will be eating fruit. And since it's only seen as a predator, they'll be like, that thing is fucking up the fruit trees out of spite. It's a
Yes.
hateful, it's a
Oh my
hateful
god.
beast.
Yes, that's oh my god, that's hilarious. Like, because I'm part of the thing I'm probably guarding is like orchards. So we see a bunch of like eaten fruit, and we're like, oh, this bastard is ruining our crops because it knows we care about it, or because we know that like it's narrowing down the orchard so that it knows where prey will be.
Oh, see, no, it damages you see how it damaged the fence there? That's so that when they lure people out, or when somebody goes out to fix it, it'll swoop down and grab them. And that's how it hunts. It leaves traps for you by breaking your fence.
Yeah, so like going into this hunt, I'm like expecting traps and mind games from a creature that is actually not maybe like isn't dumb, but isn't that's not what it's actually just trying to do its thing.
Just trying to find some turf.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Incredible. And I think Villius is completely bought in. Does have
mhm.
like I feel like at this point the character of Villius is like fully bought into the like the text of monster hunting, right?
Mhm.
Like there's nothing wrong with this system. I'm super proud to be a part of it, and there's nothing about these creatures that we have not already figured out, probably. Um, and that will probably not change, I'm sure.
Well, we'll have to read the prompts, won't we?
Yes,
Okay.
exactly. So the last thing is, of course, the thing we left for last, which is what about you both is not what it seems. Now, a fun little thing, we want to do it for the other person.
Ooh, that's interesting.
So I will also, real quick, did you land on a name
I
for this creature and your specific
did.
one?
I did. I think this is um well, not necessarily for my uh
That's fine.
I think so. The type of creature that this is called a Kaayip, Kaayip, a Kaayip. And I
Mhm.
think this one is just called.
I mean, you can just be the Kayep for this story, but if you want to have the locals have given you a specific name, that's also totally cool.
Um, I think people have kind of taken to calling it the Visitor.
Hmm.
Um, and that is, it's like it's an almost like it's pejorative in the way that like a horror movie will have kind of a mundane title, but when you put a the in front
Yeah.
of it, it's like, oh, that's scary. And so it's like it's the
Hmm. Hmm.
Visitor. So
Yeah.
that's
Like, oh, the visitor, rooted in my trash last night. And
mhm.
everyone's like, oh shit,
Had a
I'm so
visitor
sorry.
over.
Glad you survived.
Yeah. And I think like that almost feeds into the people think that it's a demon that's been summoned to harass them somehow,
Hmm.
or something like
Yeah.
that. Some sort of
I
myth
love it.
creature that's been set upon them. Anyway, what's one thing that's not as it seems?
I think what would be interesting is that I think what might be an interesting way to establish is that I think that there's something about like fruit trees or like kind of what we have in the orchard like that is the area like in the wild that is the kind of trees and area that you
Hmm.
would look to like set up a nest like you what you are hoping for in this orchard is a home to like have a family,
Gotcha.
right?
Yeah.
Like that is the Kayep's like prime real estate is an area with like lots of fruit trees that they can build some kind of like nest or maybe like burrow under the roots of the tree or something. Uh Probably like it probably is the kind of thing of like, oh, the young can just go and eat the fruit while um one of the parents goes on a hunt or something like that.
Hmm.
So like this like it's not just like this local area is now has to be your home, but you like really want and maybe even need to have this like orchard area be your nest.
Gotcha. Um, Correct me if I'm wrong, but in Sekiro, like one of your arms is a prosthetic that's got a bunch of gear in it, right?
Yes.
Okay.
That is amazing.
So similar vibe for
Okay.
Vilius, except it's their right leg.
Love it.
So you can have feel free to play with having fun gizmos. They just all have to be leg based instead of
Yeah,
arm
yeah.
based. Actually, my
Incredible.
great uncle had a prosthetic leg, and he got a custom one so that he could always keep like a fifth of whiskey in there.
It's incredible.
So, and that was that leg lived in my uh, grandma's attic until they ended up selling the farmhouse.
All right,
Okay.
so that is all of the setup. So we're now going to get into the hunt. So we can kind of do any kind of set dressing that we want, but the actual mechanics of the hunt is very simple. We each have 2d6 in front of us, and we're going to race, roll the dice as fast as we can until one of us rolls doubles. And like I mentioned at the very start, we have kind of like a tug of war here.
Hmm.
And whoever rolls double first will move the marker one closer to them. And we're just trying to basically get 3 wins to where it comes off the slot, the marker for us. So, and then once we have somebody's rolled doubles and we moved the kind of initiative closer to us, then the winner will draw a prompt from their half of a 52 card playing deck and answer it. And we can kind of either just narrate a scene or do like some kind of narrative representation of what's going on. So yeah, using a prompt drawn will describe the current state of the hunt as prompted. Some will describe moments in the present, other will recall memories from previous hunts and in the lives lived. And then so whoever drew it will respond to the card, and whether that's just like answering it, narrating it, role playing it, and we'll obviously do that together. And then once we feel like we have satisfied the prompt and the narrative enough, we'll go back into another race. So, are you ready?
I'm ready. Are you ready?
We'll find out. So, wanna in a 3, 2, 1 countdown?
Sounds good to me. So would you just say stop or doubles when we got it?
Yeah,
Okay. I figure you and I are probably not going to trash talk much. Trash talk is in fact encouraged, or small bits within the rules here.
absolutely. Maybe when we like get a little more into it, we'll
Yeah.
see. At the very start, this is serious.
Serious
All right,
business.
so ready?
Ready.
3, 2, 1, go.
Oh, got it. First roll. Damn. All right.
Oh my god, I my second roll, I just got it. Incredible. So, we are moving the marker 1 to the left, I will say. Um,
Yep.
you'll be left, I'll be right. Uh, and so if you would do us both a favor and draw one of the diamond/heart cards that you've shuffled up for your prompt.
I am drawing from the monster deck, which is this one. And my first prompt is the Six of Hearts. What do you stand to lose if you were to kill the hunter? Here's ultimately the thing. I am in the branches of a tree in some of the newer orchards. The trees themselves are not too terribly tall, so that they're easier to harvest. And this is one of the old. I think this one is actually relatively new. It is fairly far away from the city itself. And as I'm watching you from what I feel like is as safe a place as I can possibly have, you're bumbling about, to my mind, not necessarily moving very quietly. And um, you draw even with me. And if I just let you pass by, could I just keep hiding forever? The last time that I had this opportunity and I took it, another one followed, and then another 3 followed that, and then the pale skinned horror came after that. And is it worth it? But I don't think that I have a concept of worth.
Mhm.
And for as much as some might call me the visitor, I'm here to stay. And so I leap from concealment on this bush and travel fast across the ground. It's not the same as dropping from a great height, but it is fast. And you have to ready your weapon to try and stop me.
All right. Well, this feels like a great time. We'll roll some dice again.
Absolutely.
So 3, 2, 1, go.
Oh, there we go. God damn.
Oh
That's
my
2
lord.
ones. That's fucking rage dice. You might just get aced.
Incredible. I mean, that's the thing. It does have a thing in this moment that in the rules about the variable length of this game,
Yeah,
which we can read if we need to.
maybe. Um,
But first of all, you do have a prompt. So as you are running
mhm.
towards me.
I think we've met in combat, um, and like you've got your weapon out, your pole arm hammer. Um, and as we start the dance, I've got the 5 of hearts here, and the question is, what have you noticed you share in common with the hunter? Um, and like you described Vilius as like stockier, right? Am I
Mhm.
correct in yeah? But
Yes.
despite all of that, like they move, they move in these leaps and bounds. There's power in those muscles. It's not lean or necessarily always graceful, but that there's the same kind of power that I recognize in myself. Um, and the way that you use the pole to get that verticality to move over a swipe that ought to have killed you, to get behind me and to land a hammer blow on my thigh. That might have been the end if it had been any further down. But the hunters that I faced before, they moved along the ground. And this is the first time in a while that I've met with a foe that looks up in the way that I do, not as an obstacle, but as an opportunity.
I think also from Vilius's perspective, right, there's this like initial clash and you know, neither of us get our ideal scenario, which is both of us actually, now that I just realized are set up for just a first knockout blow, right? Like I have this giant long hammer, and you obviously are an ambush predator, so
Mhm.
neither of us get like our ideal scenario off. And so like both of our like my training, your instincts like kick in, and so we've got like a very like vertical leaping kind of like skirmish going on at this point because it's now it's less we can't get our ambush off, so we need to get our like we need to outposition each other, right? So that we can get in the hit that we need to get in. And I think that the thing that Vilius sees is maybe this doesn't quite register for Vilius yet, but like, and maybe not for the visitor either, but like, I imagine the camera sees like a very similar kind of like determination, right? Like, obviously the stakes are very different in that like you know, Villiers, if they lose, they don't actually lose everything. But for both of them, the stakes are high, high. You know, like there's a lot of personal stake in this, and I think that that does. I think that is one of the main things that catches Villiers off guard. Right? It's like expecting to see like a predator's eyes in this thing as we're dancing around each other, but instead see something that is like moving with a purpose, with like a maybe not even like a corner animal because it's not the visitor isn't like desperate, I don't think, but there is like a this is not just it's not just trying to kill me, it's trying to do something.
Hi, brief interruption from the editor of this episode. There was just a minor kerfuffle, so they had to step away for a second, and I didn't want to just leave in 11,000 hours of silence while they did that. So, hi. Bye.
All right, and I think we're back.
Yeah.
Okay,
All right.
we is it time for dice again?
Let's see if that hot streak keeps going.
3, 2, 1. Got it. Double
Ah,
sixes. Whew.
nice, 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 nice. Thank God.
I'm away from the brink. I
It's like,
know.
oh, this shit's over.
Yeah, Dylan, Megan, you created an amazing game. It takes 15 minutes to actually play.
I mean,
Um, okay,
listen.
that's not necessarily a bad thing, to
I
be
was
fair.
I was literally saying to Megan today, one of my favorite things about her game is that they're very, very short, which make them perfect for us. Like,
Through
good.
that.
Good. Okay, so we got the Queen of Clubs. Who
Ooh.
wanted to join on your hunt? Do you regret making them stay behind?
Oh, that's so good. Yeah, I think there's gotta be some kind of like in a similar situation to me love interest who wanted to come, but I was like, no, I could do this alone. Like Vilius is like very stuck in their ways, it feels like. So there's like a peer who I realized I have to name. Ooh, you know what? No, let's make it even more. Let's say this is a sibling, a a younger sibling, who like they. Here's what it is. They just got like a spine, right? They're not like that's the lowest, like the highest point of the skeleton. So they are really not. They really don't have much going for them. But I'm like very protective and very older sibling about it. But if I die on this hunt, we know it. Like they're gonna go full Captain Ahab and probably also get killed or become a real problem.
I mean,
Uh,
if we push this and it goes like that, and we still got the time, that might be fun.
Real. That would be fun. So I'm gonna call them Tandri.
Tandri.
Tantri. Tandri. Okay.
Alrighty. Round 4. I picture like by this point that we have this like almost running battle through the orchard. Like the
Yes.
visitor is diving kind of from one bush into another and trying to like make distance and then looping back around to catch you from a weird angle. And meanwhile you're like vaulting over trees and setting your own little ambushes, and like we'll run into each other and exchange a few blows. My like weighted tail will catch you, but then you trip me down, whatever, as we're fighting along here.
Absolutely. And actually, that's a great point because when the upper hand changes hands, we answer some additional prompts, which is first
Oh.
of all, how has the fight progressed? Which I think is a great point. Like, you know, my goal as part of this is to get you away from people. So,
Hmm.
like, kind of trying to use my length of hammer and how I'm positioned to kind of shepherd you away from the
Hmm.
orchard. Um, and so that feels like a very yeah, I love that as the progression of the fight of like, okay, we start in this orchard where you're trying to
Hmm.
make your home, but now like as we were in this kind of dance, this skirmish, I'm like using that to try and push you further and further away from this area
Hmm.
where there are more people and civilians because I think you'll just kill people, right? You're a dangerous animal. I need to get you as far away from people as possible.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, but if the upper hand has been gained, I need to answer what gives me a moment of pause,
Do you have
which
not
I think
gained the upper hand? I still have the upper hand in this fight.
I believe that's what. Let me make sure, but I believe that's the name for when I gain. Yeah, so the upper hand is whoever just won the roll off.
Right,
I believe.
but I'm still on, like it's
Okay.
still to my side. It's on the second from the left, second
Oh,
from my
that's
side.
what it is.
Yeah,
Understood. Never mind. Ignore me.
that might be a good, like,
Gotcha.
hey,
All right, great.
hey,
That's what it
Dylan,
is. That's what
Megan,
it.
for an editing pass, maybe throw a quick definition for what, make sure that that's clear. Playtesting.
Yay! All right.
Anyway,
Anyway, then it sounds like let's keep the dice rolling.
yeah, I'm still
So
better than you.
through that. 3, 2, 1.
Ugh.
Got it.
Ah.
3, 3. All right, we're back to the middle here. Back to where we started.
So, this is going to be the 9 of clubs. And the 9 of clubs is, this hunt has brought out a quality in you that you have worked to keep under control. What is it? Why have you tried to repress it?
Ooh, that's such a great question. I mean, my immediate thought would be like a rage, right? Like just not keeping cool and being just more angry and letting that kind of guide me too much of like, and this is now Rob speaking in a way that Vilius probably has not had enough self-reflection or therapy to realize, but like the anger of, no, I did do really well. I am like showing my competency, but I have to put myself in the situation. I had to convince my younger sibling to not, probably throw their life away to do this with me. Like this is what I have to do to like keep my family afloat monetarily or something. Like the anger at the system and their like lack of recognition is like starting to manifest in the way I'm fighting. So I imagine like we're starting to get out of the orchard, but like a couple times I don't hold back my swing and I end up just like basically ruining a tree, right? Like I swing wide and it like just smashes the trunk of a tree, right? Like this is like important property
Yeah.
damage that not like, and as well what that means is if I don't win, I also have to pay the people who own this orchard for all the trees I've broken
Yeah.
in this fight. Because if I win, the monster hunters will be like, "Oh, well, that's fine. We'll cover that for you, and you'll still be
Mhm.
lauded." Who knows what this visitor would have broken if you hadn't killed it?
Absolutely.
But if I don't break it, now like I have to win, or I'm saddled with extra fees.
Yeah, and I think so at this point then the I have lost the upper hand. And like, how has the fight
Yes.
progressed? I think that's how the fight progressed, is like you
Mhm.
have switched tacks from trying to keep up to trying to keep up with me to just, when there is an opportunity, when there's an opening, you go in for a kill shot. Um and like, the thing that keeps me from giving up, what does keep me from giving up? Um Honestly, I think you you knocked down the tree that I was going to start building my nest in.
Yeah, or maybe like there's like the first scraps of a nest.
Yeah. And so like I was starting to get established there, and you hit the tree trunk so hard that it broke. And now I don't even have anywhere safe to retreat to. I can't go back.
Mhm.
It's like, okay, only one way out here. And I think
Incredible.
if you get the upper hand, we'll run that question next round.
Yeah,
Okay.
perfect.
All right. You ready?
You got it. So 3, 2, 1, go.
Oh, there we go. Once.
Oof. All right.
All
Right
right.
back to your comfort zone.
You know, low rolls, but reliable rolls. And cups, which is hearts. So I have the Queen of Hearts. You think the hunter might actually win. Why? What does that thought feel like?
Oh,
Um, I think it is because of that change in tactic. It is because you're willing to destroy the world in order to get to me, from my perspective. And I've already seen people destroying the world when I wasn't involved, when I wasn't targeted. That's what I'm fleeing from. And so it's like, how does it feel? Like, it's, I think I'm just about ready to roll up and die on this one, but not quite yet. I might still,
yeah.
like, it's not assured. I'm not beaten, but I sure might be.
Mhm. Love that. I'm also curious, real quick, because like kayak hunting tactics is certainly not a pack thing. But I'm curious, do you feel like the visitor knows of other kayaks in the area? Is in the visitor's mind, are they the only kayak in this area right now? And like they are like going to set up the thing that will let other kayaks move into the area, or is this like I know there's other of my kind here that I want like to eventually have a nest for, and I'm trying to like keep those others safe. You know what I mean saying?
I want to say this is more of a preliminary like the expectation when like an original habitat gets destroyed, the population doesn't just die necessarily, it scatters. But then as they sort of wander around, they eventually find one another. So I don't think that there's anybody else specific, but there is an expectation that if one Kayap can be successful here, then more
Yep.
Kayaps can be successful here. And
Somebody has to set down somewhere so that
Mhm.
everyone else can find them.
yeah, and this might not be the place.
Maybe not.
Okay,
All right.
ready to roll?
Well, let's do it. So 3, 2, 1, go.
Oh, threes.
No. Yep.
Man, you were really pushing back for a second there.
For a second. All right.
All right, first diamond that I've gotten so far. This one is the 10. 10 of diamonds. In an encounter with the hunter, you severely injure them. How do you feel as you watch them retreat to tend their wounds?
Ooh. Love that.
I think it's like, here's the fun thing that we can play with. I'm going to say that like when
So
like
yours. Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I go in and you manage to like catch a big claw swipe on your pole arm, on your hammer, and then I
Mhm.
dive in with my teeth and manage to get like a chunk into your shoulder.
Yes.
It's like, those rumors,
Yes.
that you need to like the antidote's inside this thing and you need to kill it in order to get the antidote, otherwise it's gonna eat your soul.
Yes. No, see, this is what I love about game movement is sometimes I go to like say something and we go like at the same time as someone, and then I just pull back because like deep in my soul I'm like they're gonna say the same thought I had,
Is that the thing?
which is
Yeah.
which is I was gonna be like you have to have bit me.
Yeah. So I guess the question, uh I think you almost have to break combat for this.
Mhm.
And
Absolutely.
we get this moment of reprieve. What does it look like to like what sort of rituals exist within or net that are geared towards the preservation of the soul? It's like what does that sort of cultural mysticism look like?
Yeah, I'm imagining because like whatever it is also practical. So I feel like what it is you take your kind of like Leviathan bone and you heat it up and you use that to cauterize. And that's supposed to like seal the wound and your soul, right? Like the Leviathan bone, like it's the idea of you're keeping your blood and your soul in with this like ancient creature. I think there's probably like some kind of like chant like prayer about how like the first hunter will keep you from being the last hunt from being the last
That's
or
awesome.
something like
Yeah.
that. Or like the first hunter's last hunt has already passed, mine has not.
God, I love that. Awesome. So, and I think like it's very confusing. The whole like it does not make any sense to me why you're doing any of that. But I haven't attacked yet.
Well, because like I would have had to start a fire,
Mhm.
whether that's like magically or mundanely, right?
Mhm.
And I feel like fire is something that definitely was used where you were
Mhm.
when people came to like clear stuff
Oh
out of
yeah.
just like
Yeah, but this is a
burning.
small one. Like I've seen these, I know
Exactly.
that they're dangerous, but I know that I can play around them. I almost picture this next battle we're going to do being this like, what ways are you keeping yourself safe as you're setting up camp? Whereas
Yeah.
while the visitor is attempting to find an opportunity to get that kill shot, like to make that kill dive through the defenses that you put up. And there's one way to find out if that works.
Absolutely. So this is for
This
the
could be it.
potatoes for Vilius, technically. If that wins the roll off here, then that will take it over the edge for the visitor. So, and we'll get to what that means if we get there. So, 3, 2, 1, go.
You will not believe this.
You roll right away.
Yeah. I got threes.
So, first of all, I'll read what the game says for what happens when the hunt is over. When the token is moved off the tracker, either the hunter or the monster has caught their adversary and now has the power to end the hunt and possibly their adversary's life. To determine how the story ends, the player who ends the game with the upper hand gains narrative control, effectively the GM of the final scene. The other player is encouraged to roleplay, ask questions to further the narrative, and offer input on this last scene, but the final outcome is left in the hands of the GM.
So Vilius is Vilius sets up camp, does that cleansing ritual to close the wounds on their shoulder, sets up a sort of a tent or finds a place to stay where they're covered from above and from three sides and all of these things, and is safe. Is as safe as he thinks he can be. And I think wakes up in the middle of the night and has to pee and doesn't like this is the thing, right? Like, you're groggy, you don't necessarily think about it, so you step around your barriers, and even before you can start, it's the faintest rustling of leaves, and then suddenly there's a massive thud as the air starts rushing towards you, and when you turn, the visitor is lying dead next to your fire with a single arrow sticking out of its neck. And then there's footsteps as this extraordinarily pale and this extraordinarily pale hunter walks out of the night and looks at you. And in the dying firelight, you can see just these unnaturally dull, gleaming bronze eyes as he smiles at you and says, "Thank you. I've been tracking this one for quite some time. I'm glad that I was here to save your life. These beasts are vile. We've been having a devil of a time with them up north, and I'm sorry that this one made it down so far, but always remember this. We are here for your protection." And he hands you a note, and the note says, like, it's a pamphlet from the Undying Empire, and like this basically call for contracting with hunting services. It's this guy's card. He says, like, now I do my work mostly at night, but should any little beasties prove too much of a problem for you, we specialize in their removal. Have a pleasant evening. And he, I think, just like reaches his hand out, and the arrow disappears from the Kayep and into his hand. And then one-handed, he scoops up this entire monster and throws it over his shoulder and just walks away and leaves you there.
Yeah, I
Because
love
the
that.
Empire is here and they're here to help.
And I think that we cut a couple days, maybe even like just a day and a half later, and Vilius is in a sick bay, dying from that bite. We see Tandri at like their bedside, and Vilius is like, "No, the visitor is gone. It's dead."
Did you kill it?
And no,
Oh, who did?
Vilius goes somehow even just a shade paler, and like with all the strength left in their once like powerful hand squeezes Tandri's hand and looks them in the eyes. I think
That's
that's
the fucking line, huh?
a place to end this game of Huntered.
All right. Well,
Thank you so much to
yeah.
Dylan and Megan Cross for this incredible sneak peek at this incredible game. Despite Zad needing to go gamble apparently a little bit, or maybe me just to avoid it. Super awesome game. Uh, very interested in playing more of it, as always.
Yeah. Yeah. God, it's like it's nice to have a game that has such a simple like core mechanic that you can just kind of like stack
Mhm.
something on top of. It's it's very weavy. So
Absolutely. And of course, this is like I could tell deep in my soul this was a Dylan game because there is in the rule book a section about playing this with a hook and ball, a hook and ring game where like you're trying to catch a ring on a hook, swinging it. And I was like, oh, Dylan, I can see your little paw prints all over this. But yes, love this.
yeah.
Um,
I think next time I'm
so
gonna play a
with
sentient
that,
monster as opposed to a beast.
yes,
That might have been a
totally.
a
I mean,
little bit of strain on the pitch.
hey, next maybe we do this again and we have Tandri hunting, or maybe Tandri being hunted by that brazen.
Maybe I don't know. Like, would not be surprised if this guy has to go at some point. But I do love having a pretty a brazen vampire monster hunter, like big game hunter,
Oh yeah.
is a very
Oh,
funny.
100%.
Like that's a very fun character to have in the mix. Anyway, um, yeah. Any other final thoughts to wrap up on this one?
No, I think that was great. I
If
always enjoy sitting at a table with you.
as a practical concern, uh, we are going to have in the show notes. Hopefully, we'll have the Kickstarter for this linked if it is still live. If it's long past, you can probably just go and buy it in person. And it's a fun game. It's a great little game night game that you can play with one other person. It's a good time. Highly recommended.
Absolutely, yeah. Huge recommendations from the both of us. Great if you want to set up with for a campaign, if you want to set up a big monster or hunter, or
Or just
just
like an
play it one
NPC.
off for some fun.
You just have like
Yeah,
one NPC guy, like you want to do a big game hunter and you want to throw out a quick story about the guy. Here's a good one for it.
absolutely.
All right. Well,
Well, that will do it from us here at Patchwork. Thank you all so much for listening. Go check out the Kickstarter or the product of Huntered, depending on when you are listening to this, when you get the opportunity. And otherwise, stay awesome. And thank you so much for listening.
bye.
Goodbye.